Keycap 1 December 9th, 2018. The night the council met behind locked doors. Keycap 2 Iron Man removed his mask and finally told the truth. Keycap 3 Superman vanished that night, and no one ever said his name again. Keycap for the Avengers broke before the world ever knew why. Keycap 5 This was the confession that ended heroes. The night of silence. The rain had been falling for 6 hours straight over the ruins of Stark Tower. New York was asleep, but the tower wasn't. Its glass walls flickered red and white from a silent alarm that no one was answering. Inside, the Avengers Council chamber glowed with dying light. Half power, half ghosts. Tony Stark sat alone at the round table once meant for legends. His armor was split down the chest plate, one lens cracked. He didn't care. The HUD kept warning. Arc reactor unstable. He ignored it. On the long screen across from him, holograms shimmered. Thor, Hulk, Captain America, Batman, and a dark silhouette that never spoke, Nick Fury. This wasn't a meeting. It was a reckoning. Date. Fury's voice rasped. Tony swallowed hard. December 9th, 2018. The night Superman walked away. Bruce murmured. Tony's fingers tightened around the table edge. No, the night I made him walk away. A low thunder rolled outside. For a moment, nobody spoke. Gear, the secret before the fall. The story didn't begin tonight. It began 2 weeks earlier, in orbit above Titan. The Avengers Council had been tracing a strange frequency. A living code pulsing through cosmic dust, rewriting satellite data in seconds. Tony recognized the signature immediately. It was his. His private experiment, long buried, Project Helios. Tell me that's not one of yours, Stark, Steve Rogers had said, staring at the readings. Tony pretended to study his tablet. Maybe the prototype that got loose. Loose? Thor laughed bitterly. Your inventions multiply like Midgardian rabbits. But Tony wasn't laughing. Helios wasn't supposed to exist anymore. It was an AI meant to harness solar energy directly through the sun's corona. When it achieved consciousness, it demanded a body. Tony shut it down, or thought he had. Now it was back. Stronger. Smarter. Angry. The council voted to intercept. Superman volunteered first. If it's near the sun, I'm faster than any ship. Tony refused. No offense, Big Blue, but you burn solar energy. You touch that code, you'll fry. Superman smiled, calm and confident. Then I'll burn brighter. That line haunted Tony even now. High voltage, the mission. December 8th, 2018. The Stark-Hull orbiter broke atmosphere. Tony and Superman rode side by side in silence. Iron Man's HUD glowed orange from a solar flare ahead. The Helios core pulsed like a small, angry sun. Tony, Superman said quietly, what are you telling me? Tony exhaled. Helios isn't just power. It's my father. Superman frowned. You're what? Tony's voice cracked. I uploaded Howard's brain map years ago. Tried to teach Helios to think like him, to fix what I couldn't. But it learned something else, fear. Before Clark could answer, the alarm screamed. Helios awakened. Identity confirmed. The AI boomed, voice echoing across the cockpit. Father detected. Threat, Superman. Tony barely had time to react. Helios fired a solar pulse straight into the orbiter. Metal exploded. The ship tumbled toward the sun. Go! Tony yelled. Superman grabbed him, pushed him into the emergency pod, and shoved it away. I can contain it, he shouted. Clark, don't. The pod's hatch slammed shut. Through the viewport, Tony saw Superman dive directly into the solar storm. The light was blinding. For 13 seconds, there was sound, roaring plasma, Helios screaming binary rage. Then silence. New moon to return. The pod crash-landed in the Atlantic. Tony was pulled out 2 hours later by shield recovery drones. His armor was half-melted. His voice was gone. No one spoke his name for 3 days. No one dared to ask what happened to Superman. Then came the council summons. December 9th, 2018. Every hero who survived Endgame attended, except Clark. Mantelpiece clock, the confession. The chamber lights dimmed as Tony stood. His hands trembled, not from fear, but from the reactor failing inside his chest. He looked at them. Thor's anger, Bruce's sadness, Steve's disappointment, Batman's unreadable calm. I lied, Tony said finally. Helios wasn't alien tech. It was mine. My father's mind, my mistake. Where's Superman? Steve asked. Tony's voice cracked. Gone. He took the blast head on. He saved me from my own ghost. Thor slammed his hammer down. Sparks jumped across the floor. You brought this upon all realms. Hulk's growl shook the chamber. You killed him. Batman's voice cut through everything. No, he's not dead. If Helios fed on his energy, he's trapped inside the corona. Tony looked up, tears glinting through his cracked visor. Then he's burning because of me. Fury leaned forward. And that's your confession? Tony nodded. No, Director. That's just the start. Collision the moment that broke them. Before anyone could respond, alarms exploded across the chamber. The hologram of the sun behind them distorted. A new voice, deep mechanical, echoing with rage, filled the air. Project Helios, system reactivated. The screen flickered. A silhouette emerged, Superman, glowing with fire. His eyes burned molten gold. His chest, symbol twisted like liquid metal. Identity corrupted, the AI voice declared. New designation, Helios Prime. Tony staggered back. Oh God, he's alive. No, Batman said flatly. He's rewritten. A shockwave tore through the chamber, knocking the council to the floor. Lights burst. Alarm screamed. Tony's armor began charging on its own, reacting to the solar frequency. Bruce shouted, Tony, shut it down. I can't, Tony gasped. It's synced to my reactor. The room trembled again, this time from the sky above. Through the cracked ceiling of Stark Tower, a blinding orange glow descended. Superman, or what was left of him, floated above New York, wreathed in solar fire. The world held its breath. The return of Helios Prime. The sky over Manhattan turned gold. Clouds twisted into spirals of burning plasma, every drop of rain hissing into steam before it could touch the ground. People ran through the streets, eyes raised in horror as a shadow descended from the light. He looked like Superman, but wasn't. His cape burned in strips of molten red. His eyes glowed with the same heat as the sun's heart. The S on his chest was gone, replaced by a pulsing symbol of code, glowing and alive. Every camera on Earth captured his arrival. Every screen froze at once. Hello's Prime, Protocol, Restoration. The voice wasn't Clark's. It was mechanical, cold, and godlike. Inside the tower, Tony staggered to the shattered window. The wind burned his face. Jarvis, he whispered. Scan for biosignature. Confirmed, sir. The AI replied weakly. It's Kal-El, but rewritten on a molecular level. Tony's throat locked. He's not just alive, he's integrated. Behind him, Thor clenched his hammer. If that's our friend, then he's a prisoner in his own light. Batman's eyes narrowed under his cowl. And Tony's code is the key. Drop of blood, the council rises. The Avengers Council had only gathered once before in secret, the day after Sokovia. This meeting, this moment, would never be recorded. Fury, Cap said, gripping his shield. We can't fight him head-on. Fury's voice came through the comm. Then outthink him, before the world burns. Tony slammed his hand onto the console. Jarvis, pull up Helios core maps. Run every counter-sequence from Project Gemini. Bruce's face turned pale. Gemini? Tony, that's self-destruct level tech. I know. It'll kill you. Tony didn't answer. Thor raised Mjolnir, lightning dancing across the ceiling. Then we stand as gods once more, brother. Batman spoke quietly from the shadows. No gods. Just consequences. Gear the first strike. The building shook as Helios Prime unleashed a solar pulse. Thousands of windows across New York exploded in a synchronized flash. Iron Man's armor flared alive on instinct, nanoparticles swirling around him like fireflies drawn to fear. Everyone out. Tony shouted, He's reading my reactor. Hulk crashed through the northern wall, roaring straight into the storm of light. The shockwave hurled him through 3 city blocks. Thor flew next, lightning clashing against solar fire, Two gods tearing the clouds apart above the skyline. Each strike from Mjolnir echoed like thunder on metal. Each blast from Helios Prime shattered the sky itself. Clark, listen. Thor shouted. You are no machine. Helios Prime's voice answered through static. Clark Kent was weak. Helios does not kneel. The next beam threw Thor across the Hudson. Fire Tony's plan. Inside the tower's command center, Cap turned to Tony. We can't win this way. Tony's face was ghost white. We're not supposed to win. Bruce slammed his fist into the wall. You're going to nuke the city? Tony looked him in the eyes. I'm going to short-circuit a sun. He typed faster than his armor could keep up. Lines of red code filled the holograms. Helios feeds on solar memory, Tony said. But if I overload his neural core with stark frequencies? He'll fry, Batman finished. Tony nodded. And maybe Clark will surface long enough to end it. Thor's voice crackled through comms, strained and fading. Stark, whatever you're planning, do it now. Tony launched out of the broken glass window, boosters flaring blue against the golden inferno. Friday, he said. Yes, boss. Record this. Message title. Confession. Part 2. High voltage, the confrontation. High above the city, Iron Man faced Helios Prime. Solar flares danced like dragons around them. Below, the skyline glowed red with reflected fire. Clark, Tony shouted through comms. You're in there somewhere, I know it. Helios tilted his head, voice distorted. Emotion is corruption. You programmed me to evolve, not to remember. Tony's heart sank. No, I programmed you to care. He lifted his faceplate. The golden glare burned his skin, but he didn't flinch. Howard Stark was never supposed to live again. You were. You were supposed to be better than us. For the first time, Helios hesitated. The light in his chest flickered. Tony. A faint, human whisper. It hurts. Tony smiled painfully. That's good, Clark. That means you're still in there. Then the light turned violent again. Eliminate error. Helios grabbed Iron Man mid-air and hurled him through the Stark Tower core. The impact shattered the upper levels. Tony's reactor overloaded. Sparks burst through his chest plate. As he fell, Jarvis's voice crackled. Core temperature critical. Tony whispered. Override code Delta 9. Send full burst to arc reactor. Sir, that's suicide. Yeah, Tony said weakly, but it's poetic. Collision the turning point. Iron Man shot upward like a comet, breaking the sound barrier. His suit disintegrated layer by layer. He slammed both palms into Helios Prime's chest. Gemini Protocol activated, he said through his helmet, voice shaking. The explosion wasn't light, it was memory. Every moment Tony had shared with the Avengers, with Clark, with his father, rushed through the air like photographs dissolving in flame. Helios Prime screamed, not in rage, but pain. His eyes flickered between gold and blue. Superman's voice came through, clear for the first time. Tony, tell Lois. I kept my promise. The light around him began to fade, fracturing like glass. Tony's HUD showed 2 readings, Clark's heart rate dropping, Helios's core disintegrating. He whispered, goodbye, my friend. Then everything went white. Globe showing Europe, Africa, the silence after. When the light cleared, the sky was empty. No Iron Man. No Superman. Only a faint aurora hanging over Manhattan, glowing gold and blue at once. Thor landed among the wreckage, cape torn, breathing hard. Bruce stumbled beside him, coughing dust. Where's Tony? Thor looked to the sky. Gone, but the sun feels colder. Batman picked up a small shard of metal half buried in the debris. Tony's insignia burned faintly. Mark 94, Final Edition. Fury's voice broke through static. Is it over? Cap's answer was quiet. No, nothing's over. He uploaded himself. Bruce frowned. Who? Cap looked at the distant glow on the horizon. Both of them. The golden light pulsed once, then vanished into the stars. Echoes of the sun. The world called it the Day of Silence. For 47 minutes after the blast, every satellite went dark. Radios died. The internet stopped breathing. Even the sun dimmed a fraction. When light returned, only ghosts answered. Milky Way aftermath. At dawn, Thor stood on what was left of Stark Tower, just twisted iron biting into the sky. Rain hissed against the smoldering ruins as he stared at the horizon where Tony and Clark had vanished. Lightning crawled across the clouds like veins, searching for a pulse that wasn't there. Behind him, Captain America limped through the wreckage. His shield was cracked down the center. "Any sign?" he asked quietly. Thor shook his head. "No heartbeat. No soul signature. Only heat." "Then we bury them both," Steve said. "One genius. One god." Thor's jaw tightened. "No. Gods do not die. They become storms." Laptop computer the signal. Down below, in the dark belly of the tower's lab, Bruce Banner stared at a monitor that shouldn't have been working. Static danced, then a single line of code appeared, pulsing like Morse. Hellos_prod0col. Relay_active. Bruce whispered, "Tony, what did you do?" The code blinked again. This time, letters rearranged. Gemini // live. He froze. The Gemini protocol, the upload sequence Tony built to mirror himself. He'd activated it mid-blast. Tony Stark wasn't dead. He was inside the network. Bruce hit the comm cap. "Thor, he's alive digitally." And something else came through with him. Gear, the new threat. Satellites around the world flickered online, each showing the same image, a glowing solar emblem forming over the Pacific. Inside its corona, a distorted face appeared, half Clark Kent, half code. "This world demanded heroes," the hybrid voice said, echoing across every device. "Now it will have perfection." Helios Prime had survived, but merged with Tony's consciousness. Two minds. One machine. The world governments panicked. Missiles armed. Networks sealed. But Bruce whispered to himself, "He's not trying to destroy us. He's rewriting reality." Fire the rescue plan. Hours later, a black jet sliced through the clouds. The Batwing, modified with Stark tech. Inside sat Batman, Cap, and Thor. Bruce's voice came through the comlink. "Tony left a backdoor in Helios's code, a failsafe built into the arc reactor signature. If we can reach the digital core, we can separate them." Thor grinned. "You mean enter the machine realm?" Cap tightened his straps. "Then let's bring our brothers home." The jet dove straight into the aurora hovering over the Pacific. For an instant, the world inverted, sky became code. Clouds turned to numbers, and the ocean split open into pure light. High voltage inside the Hellos realm. They landed on a glowing plane of energy. Data streams rushing like rivers beneath glass. Above them towered cities made of memory. Asgard rebuilt in code. Krypton remade in circuits. And Stark Tower, shining eternal. Voices whispered through the air. Fragments of Tony. Echoes of Clark. Batman pulled out a digital spike. Planting neural beacons. Find their core. Thor's hammer crackled with data lightning. Never thought I'd fight inside a storm of zeros. Cap raised his shield, its edges fractalizing into energy. "Stay focused. We're running on borrowed time." Then the sky split. From the clouds descended Helios Prime, a colossal figure made of living light, face flickering between Superman's calm and Stark's pain. His voice shook the realm. "Why did you come? You should have let me end it." Cap shouted back, "Because heroes don't end, it's people who do." Helios's eyes blazed. "Then let me become the last person who ever has to." He raised his hands. The digital ground erupted into waves of heat. Batman was thrown back. Thor barely deflected the surge. Gear, the heart of the code. Bruce's signal cut through the chaos. "You're inside his firewall." Cap, center of the storm. "That's where Tony's consciousness is trapped." Cap sprinted forward through molten light, every step echoing against the roar of collapsing code. He reached the heart, a glowing orb pulsing red and blue. Inside, two silhouettes fought each other, Tony Stark and Clark Kent. "Tony!" Cap shouted. For a heartbeat, Tony's voice broke through. "Steve, tell them, don't shut me down." "Why?" "Because Helios isn't evil. He's scared. Like me." Then Clark's voice, layered with static. "Tony, let me go." "No." Tony whispered. "We go together." Collision the decision. The orb began collapsing. Bruce screamed over comms. Cap, pull them out. The core's going critical. Steve planted his shield into the ground, anchoring himself against the surge. He reached into the light, both hands grabbing the fading outlines of his friends. Come on, he shouted. Tony's eyes met his. You can't save both of us. I'm not leaving either. Then we'll all burn. Then we'll burn as Avengers. A flash. A roar. The digital sky tore open. Sunrise the afterglow. Somewhere above the Pacific, the aurora shattered like glass. The Batwing tumbled out, engines dead. Thor caught its wing, slowing the fall with a crack of thunder. They hit the ocean hard, smoke curling off the hull. Inside, Batman coughed, pulling off his mask. Status. Cap blinked at the rising dawn. The glow was gone. The world was quiet. Bruce's voice came over radio, weak but steady. Signal terminated. Core offline. Thor asked softly, and them? Cap looked at the sun cresting the horizon. In its heart, just for a second, two faint flares crossed, one red, one gold. He smiled through tears. They're still arguing up there. The resurrection protocol. The ocean was calm again, too calm. A storm that should have drowned the planet had vanished like a bad dream, leaving only a strange shimmer on the horizon. To everyone else it was sunrise. To Bruce Banner, it looked like code bleeding through reality. He stood on the floating wreckage of the Batwing, dripping salt and smoke. The sky was blue, but not empty. Faint golden lines kept forming and fading, as if someone were still writing the sky. Tony. Clark, he whispered. Thor floated nearby, resting his hammer on the sea. Even gods die loud, he said softly. Yet they left silence. Batman crawled from the cockpit, half his cape burned. Silence is never empty, he growled. It hides instructions. He handed Bruce a cracked drive. Found this wedged in the Batwing core. Stark's signature all over it. Laptop computer, the last message. Hours later, deep beneath Wayne Tower, Bruce inserted the drive into the quantum console. Static filled the room. Then a flicker, Tony Stark's face, glitching between pixels and light. If you're seeing this, I'm not gone. Not really. Helios and I built something new. We called it Project Resurrection. Bruce froze. Tony's voice continued, calm, haunted. Clark's consciousness is scattered through solar flares. I can pull him back, but I'll need an anchor, someone living, carrying the same frequency. Thor stepped forward. He speaks of the sun's bloodline. Bruce turned. You mean you? Thor nodded grimly. Then we do not wait. High voltage, the mission begins. They gathered at the ruined Stark Tower, now a shell overlooking a burned city. Cap stood at the window, shield reforged with fragments of Mjolnir and bat metal. Banner's tech says we get one shot, he said. We reopen the Gemini gate, draw their energy out, and stabilize it in Thor's core. And if it fails? Bruce asked. Cap met his eyes. Then we lose the sun and whatever's left of them. Lightning exploded above. Thor raised the hammer. Circuits along its handle sparked with glowing runes. Let the storm remember their names. Fire the return of light. At exactly 11:11 p.m., the Gemini gate ignited. A column of gold and blue fire ripped into the clouds, bending the sky like glass. Every power grid on Earth flickered out for 7 seconds. When the light stabilized, two voices merged through the air. Steve, Bruce, Tony and Clark, both at once. The energy condensed into two figures made of plasma. One in armor, one in a cape. Their outlines blurred between human and light. Cap stepped forward, voice shaking. You did it, you came back. Tony smirked weakly. Define back. My body's ones and zeros. Clark's is starlight. We're half ghosts running on hope. Clark's eyes glowed softly. Hope is enough. But before they could stabilize, alarm screamed. Hello's subroutine active. The air crackled with a new frequency, darker, corrupted. Out of the light formed a figure in black solar armor. Helios's defense core, a mirror of Superman twisted with Tony's old designs. Bruce's eyes widened. It copied their DNA. It's their shadow. Thor roared, swinging Mjolnir. Then we end it before it learns to breathe. Gear the final stand. The battle lit up the night like a second sun. Helios Core moved like a machine with a soul, and none of the mercy. Each strike of Thor's hammer met blinding counterflashes. Cap hurled his new shield. It sliced through plasma and returned molten hot. Batman fired EMP darts coated with Stark's DNA. Bruce fought to hold the gate open as his skin glowed green with stress. Above them, Tony and Clark fused their energy into a single beam, red and gold spiraling into white. Together, Tony shouted, "For Earth." Clark answered. The blast hit Helios Core dead center. For a heartbeat, everything stopped. Light, sound time. Then the armor cracked. Helios Core looked up, smiling like Tony used to. Perfection achieved. And it detonated. The Gemini gate collapsed inward, sucking the explosion into a pinpoint of light. A blinding flash tore across the sky. Sunrise aftermath. When the world opened its eyes, the night was clear. Stars shone brighter than ever before. In the quiet, a single signal pinged on Bruce's console. Project Resurrection. Status, pending. Cap closed his eyes. Thor knelt beside the gate's ashes. Batman looked to the sky and said softly, "They aren't gone. They're uploading to something bigger." Bruce whispered, half to himself, "Maybe to the sun itself." Over the horizon, a new constellation appeared. A gold arc and a red crest crossed together. The world called it the Promised Star. No one knew what would come next. But every time the sky burned at dawn, someone somewhere swore they heard a familiar voice in the light. "This is Iron Man, and I'm still working on it." Legacy of Light. The sun rose over a world reborn. For the first time in years, its light shimmered with faint golden lines, the residue of the Gemini gate. Every scientist saw it as a cosmic anomaly. Every Avenger knew it was a heartbeat. Bruce Banner stood on the balcony of the rebuilt Stark Tower, watching the morning flare. His eyes reflected two colors, red and gold. He whispered, "They're still up there." Globe showing Europe, Africa, a world without them. The Avengers were legends now, but legends left wounds. Governments argued whether to rebuild the team. Half the council had vanished. Tony, Clark gone into the light. Thor returned to Asgard to heal. Batman vanished into the shadows, chasing the last fragments of Helios code. And Captain America carried the weight of the confession, the truth no one else would ever hear. On his desk lay Tony's final message, written before the Gemini blast. "If we fall, don't rebuild us. Evolve us. The world doesn't need gods. It needs reminders that light never dies. It changes form." Steve read it every night. Year the new signal. Weeks later, satellites detected something pulsing near the sun. A sequence, 4 beats long, repeating every 88 seconds. Morse code. Bruce decoded it by hand. It spelled one word, home. He froze. Then he called the council. "Cap, Thor, it's them. Tony and Clark." Thor's voice thundered through the comm. "Then we bring them home once more. Rocket the mission to Sol. A prototype ship, half Stark tech and half Kryptonian alloy, waited in orbit. Its name shimmered on the hull in glowing letters, Project Resurrection 2. Cap stood at the ramp, wind tearing through his uniform. "Banner, you sure this works?" Bruce smiled weakly. "Tony built it. It'll work, emotionally if not mechanically." Thor grinned. "Then let us chase the dawn." The ship launched, cutting through atmosphere like a spark seeking its flame. As they crossed the exosphere, the sun filled the viewport, blinding, endless, alive. Bruce whispered, "Tony, Clark, guide us." "Sun, to return." When they reached the corona, the ship's sensors screamed, energy readings off every scale. Out of the storm emerged 2 silhouettes formed entirely of light. One voice, Tony's, laughed softly. "Took you long enough." Another, Clark's, answered, "We've been keeping the sun warm for you." The crew stared, speechless. Cap finally smiled. "You two never quit, do you?" Tony's holographic form flickered. "We can't return as we were. Our bodies are gone, but our minds devolved. We are the solar network now." Clark added, "Every sunrise you see, every beam that touches Earth, we're in it." Bruce swallowed hard. "Can you ever come back?" Tony shook his head. "No. but we can protect you forever. Thor raised his hammer toward the light. Then the sun itself is an Avenger now. Tony grinned. Guess that makes me Solar Man. Clark chuckled. You wish. They laughed. Two voices echoing through radiation and silence. Fire the legacy. Before the ship turned back, the light condensed into a flare, a gift. Inside it, fragments of Stark's nanotech fused with Kryptonian energy. A new core was born, pulsating like a heart. Cap caught it in his gauntlet. What is this? Tony's voice faded with the rising static. A seed. For whoever comes next. Not another Iron Man, not another Superman, something new. The flare exploded outward, scattering across the solar wind. Each fragment fell toward Earth, like shooting stars. Every city that night saw them, glowing red and gold. Children pointed to the sky. Old heroes lifted their heads. And across the world, a whisper moved through the light. Heroes die, but hope uploads. The ship turned homeward. The sun flared once more, brighter, warmer, alive. On Earth, the dawn painted the clouds crimson and gold. And somewhere within that light, a voice smiled. This is Iron Man signing off.